My name is Garen Phillips. I've been teaching myself the stock market from scratch for about a year now, and today we're going to go over my first week trading a live account with a dedicated day trading account. All of these trades were actually made live on my live stream, so if you would like to see the entire video of these trades, there will be links in the description below of every day trade, and there'll be timestamps for each individual trade, so you don't have to sift through 6 hours of live streaming. But real quick before we begin and get to the trade recaps, I want to thank a few day traders and YouTubers that really allowed this to happen. I wouldn't have learned everything that I did, and this wouldn't have been possible without them. First one is Dekmar Trades. I spent about 2 months into his trading course or his live stream chat room, and I learned a tremendous amount from him. So a good shout out to him. Ricky Gutierrez as well. He is a very good swing trader on ETFs. Ryan Hale, he is a guy that you won't see any videos of yet, but he's a friend of mine that really helped me out in the beginning days of getting into my trading. He lives in town, and eventually I'll be doing an interview video with him and showing his live day trading style. Tim Sykes, Tim Grattani, and Stephen Ducks. Tim Grattani and Stephen Ducks are the students of Tim Sykes. Those three guys are fantastic individuals to study from. And Tim Bowen and Stephen Johnson at the Steady Trade podcast, they really ingrained the importance of stat tracking your trades for me, and that helped out tremendously. And then lastly, Clay Trader, Warrior Trader, and Tony Ivanov. Those guys, I've just watched a ton of their videos, and they're all really good day traders. And I would recommend you, if you're a new day trader or you're trying to get into the stock market, to study all of the guys that I just mentioned, because they all have a very different style, and it's always a good idea to study as many day traders as you can so you can find a style or a strategy that works really well for you. And then lastly, I want to thank these two guys right here, Casey Neistat and Gary V. They actually inspired me to quit my job almost a year before I even got into the stock market to pursue my dreams and start a YouTube channel. And while that idea totally failed and I almost went bankrupt because of it, it worked out in the end. So I just wanted to thank these two guys, because I don't ever talk about them in my videos. All right, so let's get to the trading recaps. All right, so these are all my trades that I made for this week. And I know you're going to ask, so the little green dot that you see moving around here is actually an eye tracker. I use that to so you can better follow what I'm looking at during my trades. But this is TradeSync. It's a website, and I picked this up like 2 days ago. I was trying to build Excel sheets to track my trades, but it's just too much time and work. So I went ahead and tried out this software, TradeSync. It's a web-based platform. I haven't gone through it fully yet, but I'm liking it so far. I'll probably make a review video in a month or so once I've got through it all and seen everything that it can do. If you would like a discount, though, there is a 50% discount link in the description below if you want to try it out yourself. But these are the trades. These are my returns. I did much better at the end of the week than I did at the beginning of the week, and I was also over trading a lot in the beginning of the week. My first day, I lost about $120 on a $500 account. My broker is Tradenet, and they have multiple accounts that you can buy for them. It's a contract for difference account, so it's not an actual brokerage account. There's some stipulations to it, and I'm currently working on a affiliate agreement with them. So if I do get that, you'll have a 10% discount on any of the programs that they have down below. And I think they're also doing a 5-day demo challenge for the intro account, which I think that's this thing. Yeah, 5-day demo challenge, and if you complete the 5-day demo, you get the student edition or the intro edition for free, $500. I started with the intro edition, so my brokerage or my account is $500. So far, I'm liking them really well. This is my first dedicated day trading account. Before this, I was pretty much doing swing trading and ETF trading. I was pretty much doing like a Ricky Gutierrez style of trading. But this is my first attempt into dedicated day trading and low cap trade stocks. Back to my trades. With Tradenet, my commissions are $1.50 per trade. And the beginning of the week, I was over trading, and I was trying to manage my risk in my portfolio by only risking 3% or less on my trades. But I quickly realized that that's with a $500 account, 3% is $15. And if I'm entering and exiting a trade 3 to 5 times, if I'm managing it correctly, risking $15 and with a $1.50 commission times 5 or 6 entries or exits, I'm already eating into my risk by about $6. I'm already down 2% and I'm trying to win 3%. So it was really risking enough to make good profits, and we can see this in my reports. Filter by weekly. So these are my losses and gains for the week. I don't think this factors in net because some of these losses were heavier because of my commissions, because I overtraded. I traded 6 trades. Actually, I can throw up the trade. So yeah, I traded 6 trades this day, 4 trades Tuesday, 6 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, and then 3 on Friday. And I was eaten alive in the first 2 or 3 days because I was only risking 3% of my account, and any of the gains that I made weren't enough to cover the commission. So my account, I lost $130 the first day. I ended up losing, even though this shows green on Tuesday and Wednesday, I ended up pretty much eating all the profit on Wednesday with commissions, and I was definitely red on Tuesday with the commissions. My balance starting on Thursday was $350, and then it was $320 by the end of the day. I opened my account Friday at $320, and I ended up making about $100 on Friday. So I'm back up to about $400 on my trading account. But this is a quick overview of my trades, and then this is my win to losses. I had a ton of losses the first day. I was over trading way too much, and I really toned it down. And I also started working on my risk management much more, and I think I've got it lined out pretty well as of Friday. So I'm excited for next week. But let's go ahead and get to my actual trades. So the first one on Monday was MGDS. So this window over here in the corner is basically TradeSync's review of my trade. I've got my data, and then the buy and sell amounts, and then a chart to show you where you entered and exited at. I thought this stock was going to be a breakout, gap up and flag and run and do a multi-flag run. But I mistakenly didn't check the gap up, which was 400%, and then I realized it was a stock split. So I entered right here on the low end. Basically, what I did was I'd like to fib high and the low of breakouts, and then usually you can get in at a good price around the 50 fib or the 61 fib. I actually have these green lines for my fibs to get a good entry on flags and breakouts. So I entered here thinking that it was going to break and go long, and I got in small so that I wasn't overexposed, especially with my first trade of this account. But I quickly realized that it was a stock split and got out of the trade because I knew it was going to short, and that's exactly what happened. A few seconds later, it ripped down. So that was, newbie mistake, not checking the news, not figuring out what was making the catalyst. My next trade was JNUG, and I'm not even going to pull up the chart because this was a fat finger accident. I accidentally hit buy on my trade account instead of, I had the JNUG ticker up and I just hit buy on accident. So I had to immediately sell out of it. And I lost $3 on this trade, which would have been like less than 1% of the portfolio. But nothing to talk about this one. It was just a mistake. I accidentally clicked on it. So my next trade was MGDS. Same thing. As soon as I realized it was a stock split, I reversed my position and got short. Now, my entries were kind of terrible. I should have set limit orders. I was really impatient for the first. I'm still impatient all the way up into Friday. But I should have set limit orders up here on the previous high so I could get a good fill. I did market orders just because I was excited, and I started chasing the trade. And then as soon as it broke down and touched VWAP, I took my profits on a market order. I was very impatient, and I could have let this ran and take my profits on the bounce, and almost $1 here, almost probably 70 more cents on my trade. And while this was a good trade, it was really bad trade management, and I basically got cocky after this, and this is where all my problems started to occur. I started overtrading after this trade. So this trade was all right, but there's nothing special about it, and I made a lot of mistakes on it. All right, my next trade was PIXY, late day. It was about 10:50, and I let it run to about almost 1 o'clock. So I bought into here, thinking it was going to curl back up to the VWAP. Based on I didn't even look at the daily chart. This is an amateur mistake. This thing has a history of popping and fading. I was cocky from the previous trade and just looking to make trades. Rookie mistakes. I bought in here thinking it was going to curl up. and I even bought in and sized in heavier on the down on the bottom. I thought this was going to be a dip buy and a bounce, but it wasn't at all. This is a classic pop and fade for the day. It ran up real hard the previous day and was just coming straight down. There was no indication that it was ever going to curl back up. And this pretty much ate up all my profits from the past trade. Net returns of minus $31. So that was a bad trade. Just chasing it. And this is only my second trade of the day. There's more to come. My next one was CALI, which was a $31 loss. This was a short sell. Now, this actually panned out to what my prediction was what I thought it was going to be. It was, I looked at the chart this time. It's classic pop and fade. It's got multiple days here where it pops and fades. So this thing ran up real high to the $5 mark, which was heavy resistance into here. Lots of volume on this. 2 million volume here today, 5 million volume there. Not great volume, but it shorted, came back down, and I shorted, I think up here. No, I shorted low. I should have waited for the retest, but I didn't. I was impatient. A lot of my trades mistakes were being impatient. I got into it here thinking that it was going to short, and I was chasing the trade. A better entry would have been shorting at the VWAP test right here where it pulls back up. But no, I ended up shorting down here, and then I got stopped out here, and then it came up again, and I got stopped out again for a final, and then after it tested and it ripped down. So my prediction was correct. I was just impatient with terrible entries. So I was pretty much red, almost $50 for the day, and this is only the third trade of the day. All right, so my next trade was MTSL, and again, I was being really impatient and I was basically trying to anticipate the breakdown on this one. This stock has a history of popping and fading. It actually ran up previous days before that. So we had this big run up the day before, and I was pretty much anticipating shorting into this spike, but I was chasing it and getting into it really early. I shorted here at 50 shares just trying to anticipate it, and then I bought back immediately afterwards after it ripped up. I was basically trying to short off of this high and anticipate the break down low, but that was a terrible strategy. A much better one would have been to just draw the trend lines or draw a channel off of these lows and then short at the top of the channel and then wait for the pullback, and you could scalp it that way. But it was just a bad trade anyways. I was over trading and trying to chase trades and not really managing my risk or my share size. The way I was calculating my entries and exits was basically I wanted to risk 3% of my portfolio, which is $15, and then I basically just took my entry point and whatever I wanted my stop loss to be, I divided that by the number of cents. So this was an entry at $3.35. I think I had a 10 or 20 cent stop loss. Well, actually, I can tell you, divided by 50 shares. Yeah, 30 cent stop loss. So really tight stop loss on this. This thing moved like $5 for the total day. Just terrible. I was trying to anticipate the trades, really anxious and impatient. Same thing here. I re-entered. I ended up selling out the rest here at the top, and then I re-entered a short because I thought this was a break, but it was just a fake. And it continued to uptrend and hit my stop loss. I got stopped out again for a loss, and then I got frustrated and I was just like done for the day or done with the stock. And then 30 to 40 minutes later, it ended up crashing all the way down for a 2 to 3 or a 4-point move almost. So my prediction was right. I was just impatient. Bad entries. Didn't wait for the confirmation. All rookie mistakes. So that was my my Monday, and I ended up being down like $120 or something like that. And I wasn't even really paying attention to my losses. I was starting to realize I was being really impatient, and I was also risking too much. My first trade on Tuesday was GBR. I was anticipating the same pattern as MTLS, where you have a big run up and then it crashes down and then it pops and it just runs for the day. So I was trying to get into it long, but that didn't happen. Short sellers, I didn't see the big volume right here. I was anxious again and trying to just get into a trade and not really paying attention, just impatient. So I got into it low. I think I fibbed this flag and I bought in somewhere around here, anticipating the next run up, and that didn't happen. The short sellers just pushed it down for the day. This was a bad trade. I should have waited for it to break previous resistances to get some momentum going. I ended up selling out here for a loss of 12 bucks plus the commissions. My next trade was MTSL the next day. Basically, I was anticipating it to curl back up and go long, but it just flatlined for the day, and I lost about $4 on this trade. So my next trade after this was PED, and I was it was afternoon time. I was trading 11 o'clock all the way up to the end of the day. I did make profit on this, but it was such a small profit again because I was only risking 3%, so my share sizes were super small, and it just really didn't. I wasn't making enough profit to outweigh the cost of commissions and everything, and I was also way over trading. I mean, I had like 7 entries and exits into this trade, so over trading, being impatient again, re-entering trades and trying to chase it. So I made profit. I actually made decent profit on this downturn, but then I chased it and I tried to get back into it in here somewhere, and then it touched the VWAP and I broke out on the VWAP. I was impatient on my entries and entering into this consolidation period instead of waiting for the VWAP test. This would have been a much better short. So again, just impatience. And I also think I fat fingered this one a few times, or I might have been in a good position and I hit the wrong button and I bought out. So I ended up buying this thing called a Stream Deck, which is basically a 15-button LED hotkey, and you can program the buttons to different pictures of whatever you want, and it does all kinds of different functions like opening folders and stuff. So I configured that I think Wednesday or Thursday and started using it, and I've really liked it so far. If you want one, there'll be a link in the description. My next trade was RIOT, and this is very similar to the other ones, but this daily pattern is a gap fill, so the stock rips up and runs for the day. I think this is news, and usually it touches the previous highs or lows and bounces. It ended up coming almost up to the 50 EMA, but this is a very low probability trade. I was again just chasing trades and being impatient, not looking for really good setups, and I ended up taking a loss on this. I think I got stopped out somewhere around here. And on top of that, commissions were $6 per trade, so that was eating into half of my risk right there. So again, impatience Monday and Tuesday. My first trade of Wednesday was CBIO. It gapped up huge with huge volume and was the hot stock of the day. There was some kind of news that came out for it. And again, impatient, thinking it was going to go to the moon. It had already made pre-market highs, and I thought it was going to break and run at least up into the high VWAP, and I actually was green on this trade. I entered right at 10:30, so right at the break, which was a mistake. I should have never, especially when it was below the VWAP. That was a mistake. It pulled back. Obviously, you had a pre-market trend line right here, so I could have easily saw that, but I was impatient and not really paying attention. So I was red, and then I entered again at 10:50, right here at the break of the VWAP. Pretty much this high, so I bought high on both times, and then it came down and broke the VWAP, and I ended up losing money. And then I tried to short sell it, I think, and chased it, and it was just a bad trade. Impatience, pretty much my issue for the first 3 days. And then my next trade was MTSL again, anticipating this run up. My entry here was actually, I fibbed off of the high and the low, and my stop loss was below the 38 fib, so it touched low on the VWAP and the 38 fib, so I thought it was just going to go down for the day. So I sold out, and then it immediately went long. My mistake was thinking that this is a bull flag instead of just a spike and a trend down. I should have looked at the volume. If this had huge volume, then it would have been a flag, but with this low volume compared to the other days, I should have saw that it was gonna curl around. So impatience again. My next trade was staff, and again, same pattern where you have a huge run up and it curls down, and then longs get into it and push it up. So I was in the trade at 950, so right in this area I bought long. I believe I did it again. I fibbed from high and low. This was my entry style, and I bought right at the 50 fib. It broke down to the 38, so I thought it was reversing and just going to short for the day and be a fake out, but it ended up going long and continuing up. So My prediction was correct on this one as well. It did go long. I was just impatient and not waiting for a really good entry. Trying to get into it in case I missed it. Chasing the trade, fear of missing out. My prediction was right, and throughout the entire week, a lot of my predictions were correct. I was just losing money because of my impatience, basically. My next trade was MTSL again, kind of a revenge trade. I shouldn't have traded it. I saw the break run up, and then I saw the short and pullback, and I didn't actually catch this until like right here on the breakdown, and I think I shorted. My first sell was at 10:30. No, my first sell was up here, so I caught it. I saw this breakdown, and I shorted at 350. So I caught it up here, I caught it up here, anticipating the breakdown. This was actually the one good trade for the day, I believe. And I stacked into it, and I think I overtraded definitely, and I got some bad entries. So my profits could have been a lot better on this trade. But again, being impatient cost me money. My next trade was PED, and again, at this point I'm overtrading. This ended up being a $2 gain, but overtrading and just trying to get into trades. This is the same pattern. You have a rip and a pullback, and then it breaks and runs up. So we ran up for the day, and I went short on this around 248. So in this area I shorted, and it ripped down. My second entry is 58. It's right here, and my buyback was 353. So down here, it actually ripped up. So I bought here on the high. I should have waited for the pullback, but it was getting right at the end of the day. So I had some decent profit that I could have took, but I was greedy, and it pulled up, and then I got scared out and shaken out, and I sold here for like pretty much break even. I could have made 10 cents maybe. It was still not that great of a trade. It was also chasing too. I shouldn't have even got into this. At this point I was starting to see my mistakes, and I also ended up building. I noticed that my losses were heavier than I wanted them to be. So I ended up building a spreadsheet calculator. It's actually a cheat sheet. This is the first part of it. You basically put in your portfolio amount and the portfolio percent you want to trade, and then the risk per trade. If you see, if I change this to 3%, $6 per trade. You're looking. If you break 1 to 1, you're making $6. 2 to 1 is $12. But if you make two entries and one exit, that's $6 right there in commissions, or $5 in commissions. So with a small account, you get eaten alive by the fees. So 3% was way too small, and I started to realize this later into the week. And on Thursday, I was trading with heavier size, but my entries and stuff were still just terrible. At 10%, I'm starting to risk $37, but at this point I was down like $350, or I was down $150 to $170. So risking 3% of that, I could no longer risk 3%. That's way too small. That's one entry right there. So I was forced to start sizing in heavier for like a $20 loss per trade, which meant it basically forced me to really lock down my strategy and wait for good entries and stop being impatient, or else I was going to blow up the account. And Friday, I ended up being patient, sticking to my guns, letting my patterns play out, and I had a really good day Friday. But this calculator helped me do that by basically you put in your data and your commissions and the amount of entries that you think you're going to make, and it will auto-calculate your risk per trade. And then it takes risk per trade and it divides it by your stop loss, and it gives you the shares that you should be buying for that stop loss. So if I was going to trade this and actually trade it well, the proper thing to do would have been to see that there's decent resistance in this area and set a limit short here at like 350, right on a psychological resistance at 350. Shorted it light there for maybe, let's say, a 50-cent stop loss, so up into the fours. If I pull up the calculator, a 50-cent stop loss, 48 shares. So if I shorted here at 350 and it came all the way up to $4, I would lose the $24 right here on the risk per trade. Now, obviously, you wouldn't let it do that if it starts to make higher highs, and you'd get out of it. It ended up coming up to 67 cents or so, but then it ended up shorting down. The second part of this calculator is basically like a second entry. If you are already in position, you can put your average cost in here and the shares that you shorted or longed, and then it'll tell you your stop loss based on your risk per trade. And then the second, you put in your second entry, and it'll tell you how many shares you can short, what the new stop loss will be, what the average stop, or the distance between the average stop and the loss. So we could do this real quick. Let's say it's shorted at 350 for 50 cent stop loss, 48 shares. Well, short, put a minus for short. Second entry would be wait for the reversal and the pullback. It's 340-ish, somewhere around there, 330. And then it'll tell you, if you buy in an extra 48 shares, your new stop loss will be 365, which would be right at the high day. And then your average, the distance between that stop loss and your average, which would be 25 cents distance, and the new average would be 340. So that's how that calculator works. And you can actually download that calculator if you want. My Discord that I've been building, there'll be a link in the description. It's currently a limited open community, but it's free to get in. It's under Garen's Trading and then Best Resources. It's this calculator right here if you want to download it. And I'm constantly like tweaking it and updating it and trying to make it better. So my first trade on Friday was VKTX, and it was a short sell. I had seen this cup and handle formation here on the daily. If we go to the daily chart, so we had this big run up, and then it comes up, and then it pops, and then it cups and handles, comes back up, and I was looking to short into resistance here. We had multiple days that it touched this point, so I knew it was probably going to come down for the day. My entries were 9:53 and 10 o'clock. I was basically being much more patient, and the entries were not that great. I basically entered here short at like 11:34, right off of this previous high. My mistake was, again, not channeling this trend. Like it had a clear trend that it was bouncing off of, and I could have drawn a trend line off of this high and this high, and then shorted into this area. That would have been a much better trade because I was actually down like 20 cents right off this rip. And my stop loss, I was in 100 shares, which with the calculator at this point, I think I was risking 12% for this day because I was down 320. 100 shares was 25 cent stop loss at 330, so my stop was almost being hit at the end of the 60s, so I would have been down for the day already, 12% of my portfolio. So this was a bad entry. I was anticipating the trade. It could have went really wrong for me if it broke out or kept going, but luckily it didn't, and it came down. My second entry was, I bought back 40 shares at 9.59, so I bought back actually like right here, just downsizing because I was afraid that it was going to rebound off the channel and come back up and continue going. So I downsized to reduce my risk, so my stop loss came up into the 70s or 80s. So I was basically managing my impatience at this point. So, but then it broke down and broke trend and kind of came down, and then it ripped VWAP. And I think this was my second entry here at 10.20. Yeah, so as soon as it broke VWAP, I shorted right here again for 100 shares. So I was in 200 shares deep. My stop loss was up here somewhere. My average was right here. And then it curled back up and tried to test again, and I started sweating a little bit because I was in pretty heavy at this point. But it failed on the test, broke the VWAP. I shorted another 100 shares at 10.32, which would have been right here. So I was kind of chasing the trade at this point. Bought back at 10.35. Sorry, I shorted into here. Yeah, so I shorted into here. Pretty much said I'm going to let it run and see what happens and just stop trying to anticipate things. And I bought back at 11.25 right here on the break, which in hindsight, I thought it was going to bounce off of $11 and come back, but it ended up coming down. So I lost out on a lot of profits being impatient again on my exit. I should have waited for a confirmation of a reversal, or at least came down like that big sell-off right there in the VWAP or touching the low. I ended up making 30 bucks, but because I screwed up my entries and I had to downsize, my shares were light. Oh no, I know what I did. I fat fingered this and accidentally sold my shares by hitting the buy button, and I had to re-enter, and I had to pay some of the spread. So my hotkeys were, I basically just hit the wrong button. So that's what that extra buy and sell was. Yes, I was in 270 shares, so I accidentally bought them out, and I had to re-enter, but I had to re-enter at 180 because my stop loss would have been too tight, and it would have been too much risk. So I lost out on almost 100 shares for this short because I accidentally hit the wrong button. So I would have made like 50 bucks on this trade, and I could have potentially made almost $200 on this trade. And I would have made even more if I had actually properly sized in up here. Instead, I bought 90 shares here. If I had shorted here, I could have bought like 110 or 140 for a really good stop loss, and then I could have averaged even heavier into here. So this was a profitable trade, but I could have done way better on it and made lots of mistakes along the way. My second trade was CLF. This was the same pattern as MTLS, where it has a huge run up and then it breaks trend and you short. I call it a high ball. Basically, I shorted 150 shares at 10.18. So I waited for the break. I waited for confirmation this time to short here at 10.18 for solid confirmation. Shorted here, bounced and then pulled back, and I sold out half at 306, or sorry, 106. So as soon as it came down here, I bought half for locking in profits. It came back and touched and retest, and then I think I ended up buying it back again at like 10.01. I didn't think it was going to break the $10 mark, and that ended up being true. It didn't. Volume faded out, so I just took my profits here at $10 for $21. So that was a decent trade. I was much more patient on this trade. I waited for the break of trend. A better entry could have been. This was making highs, so this was a dangerous trade to make. I believe it might have had resistance though on the 2-year. Yeah, it had resistance here on the 2-year. I think I had a resistance line set, a few resistance lines set, and I also saw huge volume right there. So this was a decent way to trade or short, but I wanted to wait for confirmation on this one. And then my last trade for the week was TRN. Again, this was a high runner for the day, and we had multiple resistance on the daily chart. So we had a bunch of resistance here. I was trying to test highs and stuff, or high the year. And we also had this big spike here, and I didn't notice it till later, but there was a trend line here. So the potential, it could have ran up and touched the trend line at like $38. It didn't do that, but it could have. So this was kind of a risky trade. It started coming up, and at this point, I was really focusing on just being patient and getting a good entry. Not making the mistakes that I had made all week. And I kind of overtraded it. My first sell was at 14.23 for 180 shares, 223. So over here was my first entry at 34 shares, or 37.34. So I shorted here basically off of this previous high, and then it ripped up, and I was down almost 12% at this point, down 30 bucks or so. But I told myself, be patient. There's going to be a pullback. It will pull back. And it was already trend channeling, so I figured it was at least going to come back to the channel. And ended up doing that. And I broke even here, but that was a dangerous trade. I could have been down a lot. So we had this thing that was channeling, and this is about a 30-cent channel here. Then it started to break channel, and I started redrawing off of the highs. So we had this kind of a mini channel here, and then I saw a price action. You can't really see it on the 2-minute, but there's an ascending wedge here. I think you can see it on the 3-minute. Yeah, so there's a bit of an ascending wedge here. You got this trend channel up here. Most of these are rips, so you're having flag rips and then a pullback, but then this one is like a chug. And this is basically price action saying that the price is tapering out, and especially after, we have this solid channel all day. So this thing channeled the entire day, and then it loses momentum out of this channel and it starts going sideways a little bit at an upward ascension, and then you have the final little micro ascension, the same thing, so it's tapering out. And I think I shorted here at 37.50. I should have shorted just a little bit above this channel. Again, I was chasing it a little bit and I wanted to get into it, but at this point I knew it was probably a pretty solid short. I think my first entry though was still a light entry. I ended up trying to anticipate it again, and I think I shorted into this and then bought back, and then I ended up shorting. Yeah, I shorted into here, and then I shorted here, and once it broke trend I shorted pretty heavy, and I took my profits. I think I took my profits into the 37.32. Yeah, so I took my profits halfway. It ended up coming down to the VWAP, but I just wanted to take my money and leave for the day. It was a small return of $5 after the commissions ate me alive. I overtraded this a bit. But at this point I learned my mistakes for the week. I'm way too impatient. I need to wait for good setups and good entries. Use my calculator for proper sizing and stop losses. And then when my trades go wrong, manage them correctly and don't just get out of them at bad points. And also try to, on these channel trades, if you're going to short them at the top end of the channel, not the previous high or the anticipating a break of channel. All of these high channel runs that I tried to short would have been much better trades if I had just drawn the trend lines and tried to short at the top end instead of trying to chase the trade. So that was my trading for the week. I lost $130 on like the first day, and then kind of lost or broke even up until Thursday. I was basically trying to stop all of the mistakes that I was doing, and then Friday we finally had a good day where I made some decent profit, and I'm up to, I think I'm back up to $400 on the account. Oh, and I'm also I forgot, I'm in a swing trade on Hertz with a Robinhood account. So I'm swing trading on Robinhood. This thing has a history of cup and handles. So I like these cup and handle patterns, and it's curling back up to the 50. So what I did was basically I look for big sell-offs and then a rebound. So we have multiple big sell-offs here, but it never really curls back up. It does this one, but this is an overextension. And then we finally have this sell-off, and then we have a bunch of buying pressure or buying volume, and then we have another one test, and this would have been the proper entry. I didn't see this until I think here. I bought in here the next day, so I was again impatient and chasing trades. I just wanted to get into it because I thought it was going to curl up. But we're in a consolidation period. The better one would have been in the limit order down here on the low with the stop loss down here, and then we have a huge rip up on the VWAP, and it makes highs. So we're making higher highs here, and we're making higher lows. So this is showing an upward ascension on this channel instead of lower highs here and then lower high. Now we're making an upward ascension. So the proper buys would have been here on this test. This would have been a triple test, and it didn't even come all the way down to the lows, indicating that buying pressure or selling pressure is getting out. This cup and handle is basically all the buyers and short sellers. The short sellers taking their profits, and the buyers getting into it and getting a good entry. So that price action curl like this indicates a potential reversal. It's not a guaranteed reversal, but it is showing a change in trend. And then the higher lows and the break of VWAP with this big bull push here is a good indication. And then the pullback, and it holds on this trend line. So now we've got 3 touches on this channel, and it ended up running up for the day. So I'm looking bullish on this swing trade. I will probably swing it up to the I'll take half profits coming back up to this resistance, and then we'll see what happens price action wise, and I'll probably take the remainder at the 50 EMA, or if it shows weakness and it's going to fail off of this resistance, I will just take profits. So that's my swing trade. Alright, so if you like this video, I'll be making more trade reviews. It'll probably be a weekly video, and I'm also going to delist my live stream videos because I don't want my YouTube channel to be cluttered with a ton of videos. But if you want to watch those live streams, they'll still be on the channel. You just can't see them through the playlist. You'll have to go to these trade recap videos, and in the description I'll have links to each video and every day, and I'll also try to put timestamps for when the trade took place, so that way you don't have to sift through 6 hours of. There'll be links in the description for everything I talked about and showed today in this video. I'm improving my strategy and learning my mistakes, and really my issue, a lot of my predictions ended up being correct on the day. I just had terrible entries and sizing and being impatient. So if I can manage those things, I think that I should have a lot more green days, hopefully. If you'd like to learn trading or follow along with my progress, I live stream my trades every day. I try to get the stream started around 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and it's free. The Discord's free, but it's a limited open, so if the links are expired, you can find a new link in my newest video or on my live streams every day. Other than that, I'll either see you on the live stream or my next video. Thanks for watching.